Okay, I think we all know that in order for us to sustain our energy levels during long bouts of exercise, we need to refuel. That means eating and drinking. And doing that while cycling along is no easy task. That means taking a hand off the handlebar, reaching into a pocket or storage, taking something out, opening it or unwrapping it, and then even trying to take that on board while cycling along. That's quite a lot of things to do, and for us doing triathlon, this is a pretty essential skill. So I'm here today to help with a few tips on how, when and what to eat while cycling. Now, one thing to say up front is that one size does not fit all when it comes to nutrition, fueling and hydration. Just because one of your mates is one of those freaks that can ride all day on simply one bottle of water does not mean that you should be doing the same. We're all different, so simply take my advice today as a rough guideline. Now, as a general rule of thumb, you should be looking to eat and drink little and often during any rides. That means not waiting until you're hungry and thirsty and then trying to play catch up, because the likelihood is you never will actually catch up. So to give you an idea of how much you should be consuming, you should be looking for around 30 to 60 grams of carbs per hour in the nutrition and the fuel that you're taking on, and around 500 milliliters of water. But obviously this will vary from individual to individual, but also due to the intensity you're riding at and also the temperature and conditions you're riding in. You'll find a lot of this information on the back of packets, but to give you an idea, a typical energy gel will provide between 20 to 30 grams of carb. A small flapjack like this has around 35 grams of carb. 4 jelly babies, 21 grams of carbs, 12.2 grams of carb per Jaffa cake, a cereal bar around 20 to 25 grams of carb, and the good old Mars bar in a normal size is around 35 grams of carb. Now personally, if I'm out on a casual training ride, then I like to take on sort of normal solid foods like cereal bars, bananas and so on, just for a nice slow release of fuel. But if I'm out doing something more intense, whether that's training or during a race, then I want something that's quick and easy to ingest and quick to get into the bloodstream. So in those instances, I'll often use energy gels or simple sugary snacks like jelly babies, shot blocks, or even jelly cubes. You get the picture. And hydration is just as important. Water is better than no water to an extent, but water alone does not contain any carbohydrates, any energy, or any electrolytes. So for that reason, it's a good idea to add some electrolytes to your drink, and you can do that using some electrolyte sachets or some electrolyte tablets like this one here, and they'll help to replenish and replace any electrolytes that are lost through your sweat during exercise and during riding. Do be wary though, most of these do not contain any energy. So if you are looking to add some energy to your ride as well as the nutrition, then you'll be wanting to take a sports drink on, which is a good idea for any long rides and events anyway. All right, so that's that covered. Now let's get on to how to fuel and drink whilst riding. So the main things to consider here are the timing and the terrain. So taking into account my earlier advice on how much to consume, I would suggest trying to take on something little and often every 20 to 30 minutes, or simply something more substantial each hour. And this is where practice and experience will really come into play in finding out what works best for you. But obviously to do this, you'll have to take one of your hands off your handlebars whilst riding along. Unless of course you stop, which is what we're trying to avoid today. So to do this, you're going to have to think carefully about where you do it in your rides. And I often see people making the mistake of choosing to do it when they're going uphill, which kind of makes sense because you're traveling at a slower speed, obviously. But you're going to want to get as much air in through your mouth as you possibly can, rather than gasping for breath through a mouthful of food or fluid. You also want to avoid doing it on any technical sections, some fast descents, basically anywhere that's going to require your attention, your full control, and both hands on those handlebars. Another place you may want to avoid is perhaps in a group of cyclists, if you're at the back or in the middle, particularly if it's a group that you don't know, just in case someone suddenly and unexpectedly breaks. And then also those dreaded crosswinds. Don't forget those. If you're using a set of deep section wheels like I am today, they have a habit of catching those winds. So if you've got one of those hands off the handlebars whilst you're in a crosswind, just be careful. So you probably guessed it, you want to be aiming to eat and drink on a relatively flat and straight section of road, or perhaps even a section of road with a slight uphill, enough that's going to bring your speed down a touch. Now, if you find yourself on a section of road that matches that description, then just give yourself a mental reminder, a little nudge that now may be a good time to refuel. And finally, before I finish, there are a couple of things you can do that will make your life a lot easier. So one of which, rather than having to reach down to the bottom of your bike or into a back pocket, you can get yourself what's called a bento box. This goes onto the top tube of your bike and can store some foods, some gels, and allow you to quickly and easily grab fuel on the go. So popular, in fact, that a lot of bikes are coming standard with them these days, like I have just here. You can also get yourself a front-mounted hydration system that goes on the handlebars or between the aero bars and simply allows you to fill up with fluid, and then you can drink it nice and easily on the go through a straw like this one. Of course, if you're brand new to cycling and the prospect of taking your hands off the handlebars worries you, then do feel free to stop and refuel safely on the sides of the road. And perhaps when you are cycling along, just practice taking a little bit of weight off each of your hands as you go and just build that confidence up with time. Well, there we go. I hope that has been helpful for you today. If so, please do give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to head on over to the GTN social media channels, give them a follow, and don't forget to give us a subscribe just down below.